Strange New Worlds Season 3 copies Star Trek. Voyager's fan-favorite sci-fi spoof. Star Trek, Strange New Worlds has never shied away from honoring the legacy of its predecessors. From character revivals to stylistic nods to past series, the show has made it clear that it's deeply entrenched in the rich mythos of Star Trek. But with Strange New Worlds Season 3 on the horizon, a surprising development has emerged. The series is seemingly copying one of Star Trek, Voyager's most beloved and unexpected genre experiments, the comedic sci-fi spoof. That's right, Strange New Worlds appears to be borrowing heavily from Voyager's cult classic Captain Proton holodeck adventures. These pulpy, black and white sci-fi escapades delighted fans with their affectionate lampooning of 1930s serials and retro space operas. Now Strange New Worlds is putting its own crew in a similarly outrageous alternate reality, and while some fans are thrilled by the creative risks, others wonder if the homage goes a step too far. Let's break down what Voyager did so well with its spoof, how Strange New Worlds is replicating it, and why the latter's version might walk a fine line between tribute and imitation. Voyager's Captain Proton, Star Trek's cheesiest and best holodeck program. To understand what Strange New Worlds is doing, we need to rewind to Star Trek, Voyager's Season 5. In the episode Bride of Chaotica, Tom Paris's holodeck program, The Adventures of Captain Proton, took center stage. What began as an idle amusement became a full-on, serialized spoof of 1930s sci-fi, complete with ray guns, evil queens, mustache-twirling villains, and black and white visuals. The joy of Captain Proton wasn't just in its parody, it was in how wholeheartedly the cast embraced the absurdity. Robert Duncan McNeil Paris and Garrett Wang Harry Kim leaned into the camp. Kate Mulgrew's Janeway chewed the scenery as Arachnia, queen of the spider people, with a gleeful melodrama that became instantly iconic. The episode worked because Voyager never looked down on the genre it was spoofing, it celebrated it, while still having a blast at its expense. Bride of Chaotica became a fan favorite and a cultural landmark in Trek canon. It proved Star Trek could stretch its own boundaries and still feel authentic. It was silly, yes, but also endearing, unique, and unforgettable. Strange New Worlds Season 3. Enter the Pulpverse. Now, 25 years later, Strange New Worlds is reportedly going all in on a similar stylistic detour. Early production leaks and teaser footage hint at a genre-hopping episode that sees the crew transported into an exaggerated, stylized science fiction universe, complete with kitschy sets, vintage costumes, and over-the-top performances. From what's known so far, it seems the Enterprise will be caught in a reality-bending phenomenon, possibly triggered by a malfunctioning alien artifact that transforms their surroundings into something straight out of a pulp magazine. Think cardboard control panels, cheesy special effects, and dialogue that feels ripped from the pages of a dime store novel. Sound familiar? Just like Captain Proton, the episode is being billed as a loving homage to classic sci-fi storytelling. But it's also unmistakably drawing from Voyager's playbook, to the point where the similarities may be too close for comfort. Homage or ripoff? The fine line of Star Trek's self-referentiality. Star Trek has always referenced itself, from mirror universes to recurring characters to stylistic callbacks. But Strange New Worlds pulp episode seems to replicate not just the tone of Captain Proton, but also the entire structure, a genre-hopping detour where the crew play exaggerated versions of themselves inside a fictional universe with its own melodramatic logic. That raises the question, is this episode a clever nod, or is it simply reheating Voyager's leftovers? It's not a new debate. When Strange New Worlds Season 2 ventured into musicals with Subspace Rhapsody, fans were divided. Some celebrated the creative freedom, while others accused the show of chasing gimmicks. But the pulp parody in Season 3 isn't just a genre experiment, it's a specific echo of something Voyager already perfected. The danger is that, without a unique twist, this episode could feel derivative. Trek fans are savvy. They remember Bride of Chaotica fondly, and many might view this new spoof as a lesser imitation if it doesn't bring something fresh to the table. What could make Strange New Worlds spoof stand out? To avoid being seen as a clone, Strange New Worlds will need to innovate. Fortunately, the show has the tools to do just that. First, the cast is one of the series' strongest assets. Anson Mount's Captain Pike, with his dry wit and expressive range, could easily thrive in a campy, over-the-top setting. Rebecca Romijn's number one already has a stoic straight woman energy that could play beautifully against pulp absurdity. And Ethan Peck's Spock has shown surprising comedic chops, particularly in episodes like Those Old Scientists. But more than performances, the episode needs a purpose. Captain Proton worked partly because it was integrated into the larger story of Voyager's crew facing photonic beings who mistook the holodeck for reality. Strange New Worlds will need a similar narrative justification. If the pulp parody is just style for style's sake, it risks feeling hollow. The writers could choose to explore how the crew respond to outdated sci-fi tropes. Maybe Ortegas is frustrated by the lack of strong women in this faux universe. Maybe Mabenga, as a doctor, is appalled by the nonsense space medicine. Perhaps the show even comments on how far Trek itself has come since those early genre influences. There's also room for a meta twist. What if one of the crew wrote the story they end up trapped in? That would create personal stakes and give the episode an extra layer of character development rather than being a shallow pastiche. Why Strange New Worlds keeps taking big swings. Whether it lands or not, this pulp spoof fits a growing pattern. Strange New Worlds is determined to be the experimental Star Trek show. Season 1 had its moments of classic episodic storytelling, but Season 2 upped the ante. We got a Lower Decks crossover, a musical, a fairy tale mindscape, and now in Season 3, a retro pulp parody. This isn't your dad's Trek. It's bold, weird, and occasionally messy. Some longtime fans are uncomfortable with the tonal swings. Others praise the show for embracing fun. But one thing is certain, Strange New Worlds refuses to play it safe. In many ways, that spirit aligns perfectly with Captain Proton. Voyager didn't need to shoot an entire episode in black and white with 1930s style props. But they did, and it worked. Strange New Worlds is continuing that tradition of bold, genre-defying choices. Even if it stumbles, it's pushing the envelope in ways few Trek series ever have. The legacy of Trek's most lovable spoof, it's a testament to the strength of Captain Proton that its influence is still being felt 25 years later. What was once a throwaway holodeck diversion is now part of Star Trek legend. It opened the door for genre experimentation, comedy, and camp in ways Trek hadn't dared to do before. If Strange New Worlds can channel that same energy, while adding its own modern twist, its pulp spoof could become another fan favorite. But it will need more than nostalgia to succeed. It will need heart, character, depth, and maybe even a wink at Trek's evolving relationship with its past. Final thoughts. Can Trek have fun without losing its identity? As Strange New Worlds Season 3 leans into parody, the question looms, how much fun is too much fun? Trek has always balanced seriousness with whimsy. But there's a risk that too many gimmick episodes could dilute the show's emotional core. If every episode becomes a novelty, a musical, a crossover, a spoof, what happens to the grounded storytelling that made Trek endure for decades? Then again, maybe this is the evolution.